Scott Holliday here, and welcome back to Plus 2 Wrestling. Before we get started, last time on the show I begged and I pleaded that during John Cena's last match to have Randy Orton come out, say that up-and-coming stars lack ruthless aggression, and to hit the music of Marcus Mathers. And instead what I got was The Miz coming out, complaining that he wasn't booked on the show, getting confronted by R-Truth who made a bunch of testicle puns, and then Joe Hendry coming out. Now don't get me wrong, I believe in Joe Hendry. I was happy to see that Joe Hendry got a spotlight. I really think he should have gotten a match with John Cena. That's what should have happened. But at least he got a little bit of a rub on a very big showcase. I think they missed an opportunity to create a brand new star and really turn up a completely unknown or someone who hasn't appeared on television yet by using Marcus Mathers. But they couldn't do that with Randy Orton because apparently Randy Orton missed John Cena's last match because he was in Saudi Arabia doing promotion. So that's a shame. It's the most wonderful time of the year, the end, because that is when I get to do the end of the year awards. This is one of my favorite things to do. I look back at the world of professional wrestling and I give out my flowers. These are my awards for the best of the year. And remember, these are my awards, so this will be decided completely by me. And I will be completely honest here, I only really follow AEW week to week. Like, I will watch every single Dynamite. I'll watch the occasional Collision. I don't really watch WWE unless it's like an important PLE. And I haven't really watched much NXT or ROH and a sad amount of New Japan. But I do watch a lot of indie stuff. And that being said, I'm not going to be giving out many indie awards here. I think it would be really weird for everyone watching if I was like, Match of the Year. Oh, that's easy. Power Pro Lucha had that Wild LLC versus Bill Goldbergler and Filipino Grigio in a gourd on a pole match. That was Match of the Year. That match was really good. You should actually watch it. It's on IWTV. I'm going to keep it mostly mainstream for these awards. So, without any further ado, here are the greatest and best of 2025. Best Storyline. This award really should be going to the New Day. New Day entered this year with all this momentum, and they had freshly turned heel. The crowds hated them because they turned on Big E, and then it just kind of stopped. I don't know why they didn't push with that momentum. Like, I don't think I saw the New Day on a PLE. Maybe once, maybe a pre-show, but to have all that energy behind them and then not turn them into these mega heels with titles is just, it was just a foolish decision after what they did to Big E. But that is not the best storyline of the year. The storylines, I think, were really monopolized this year. Like, there was the story with John Cena, and there was the story of Jon Moxley with the title, and those were like the big things going on. And I don't think either of those are worthy of storyline of the year on their own. But some real good came out of it. I believe that the storyline of the year was the redemption of Hangman Adam Page. They did a beautiful job telling the story of how Hangman no longer walked the righteous path and how he burned down Swerve's home, and now he just is so overcome with vengeance that he can't be satisfied, and now he's just taking it out on anyone and everyone around him. He was a man that was just based in violence and not in compassion and in integrity. But as he got closer and closer to that title match with Mox, a little bit more started to chip away. Until, finally, they hit the correct Hangman music and he came out of the other tunnel. And then he went to war with the Death Riders. He is AEW's main character. And I think they did a brilliant job with his redemption. Title reign's been okay. Wasn't the best. But his redemption arc, perfection. Finisher of the year. This is always a tricky one. Because it's not the best finisher. It is the finisher of the year. I try to make it an important new finisher. Something that kind of debuted this year. But it doesn't necessarily need to be that. Like last year, I gave this to the Tiger Driver. Now, Cody had been using the Tiger Driver as a finisher a few years before, but this was the year that the Tiger Driver became an ultra finisher. It didn't just beat you, it threatened injury, and there was a morality question on whether or not you should even use the Tiger Driver. And I think the fact that a move like that had been, made so credible was worth praising. If I went really with what was the most impactful, it was probably the Tsunami. Probably should have given this to the Tsunami last year. But I'm trying to think what really broke out this year. What is a move that maybe we hadn't seen before? And I really couldn't come up with something. And I realized I was looking past it. Because like I said, I watch mostly the indies. And there's a fantastic finishing maneuver done by Sean Smith. Good old Rocket hits one of the most breathtaking finishers I've ever seen. You know it as the Soul Snatcher. And because I had seen it on the indies, it didn't register that this was happening on NXT and people hadn't seen it before. So I have to give it to the Soul Snatcher. Sol Ruca really just defies physics and gravity every time she hits that maneuver. It is amazing every time, and the fact that she was able to put Bayley away with it on Saturday night's main event really propelled it into the spotlight here at the end of the year and made me realize, oh, that's it. That's the finisher of the year, the Soul Snatcher. Non-wrestler of the year. Now, this is the one I usually struggle with because as a non-wrestler, I pay more attention to these things. I want to pick the right non-wrestler to be properly praised. And there's a lot of people that deserve praise. Every year, I mention Excalibur, and I tend not to give it to him because Excalibur does an amazing job as lead commentary over in AEW. As does Michael Cole. Michael Cole has again had another great year as lead commentator of the WWE. Not giving it to either of those. I, of course, love RJ City. I think RJ City is an amazing talent. AEW's hilarious, always pumping up the crowd and getting things ready during the pre-show, along with Renee Paquette, in AEW, another great potential winner of this. This has been a great year for Don Callis and the Callis family. Anytime Don Callis has a microphone, it's very, very exciting. Is he going to bring out another painting? He does that, oblivious evil where he can't even see his own BS so well. I love what Don Callis is doing with the Don Callis family. It's too big. It's a little too big. But I think Don Callis had a fantastic year. I need to talk about Ava. Ava as the general manager of NXT, kind of doing this, lazy, not really caring about her job, just kind of throwing stuff at the wall general manager is wonderful. I love that her character she's inexperienced and a Nepo baby, and she just kind of does things. Even though they don't say that explicitly, that's clearly what's happening over at NXT. But this year, despite all that, it was really obvious who this award goes to. And that's Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is someone I bring up every year, and I never give this award to him. But this year, the main event of WrestleMania was about him. Night one of WrestleMania was all about, but Paul Heyman's with the Tribal Chief, but he's best friends with CM Punk, and he's going to accompany CM Punk to the ring. Oh, how is that going to affect in this triple threat match? And then he turns on Punk. like he had done before. And then he turned on Roman Reigns, and he joined Seth Rollins. That whole match was about Paul Heyman. There hasn't been a focus on a non-wrestler in the main event of WrestleMania since Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin with Mike Tyson. This was huge for a non-wrestler. You can't get any higher than the main event of WrestleMania. And it was all about Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman continued to do amazing work with the Vision. This was a no-brainer for me. This goes to Paul Heyman. Best promo. So I've gone back and forth in giving this to a person who had given the best promo or to the actual promo itself. Last year I gave this to the New Day because I was so sure they weren't going to squander the Big E storyline that I already talked about. I, for a long time, was going to give this to John Cena's heel turn. And I know a lot of people will disagree with that. I loved his original heel turn promo where he talked about how he was in a abusive relationship with the crowd who didn't quite understand what they had done to him by chanting Cena sucks at him. And I absolutely adored the line, there's not going to be a new outfit, there's not going to be new music, you don't get that. This is who I am. What a great way to turn heel. Because everyone was wondering, what does a John Cena heel turn look like? Like, what will it finally be? And for him to say, it's me. It's what I've been all along. I'm just done pandering to you people. I'm done giving you what you want. I give and I give and you take and you take. I thought was perfect. It was then ruined by Cody coming out and being like, look, when WrestleMania comes around, you better find the real John Cena, because I don't want to wrestle this bitch. The whole promo was about how he was that person, about how he isn't changing. And for Cody to come out there and say that just ruined the whole thing. So I'm going to give this to one of the most emotional moments. Then you can just cut the tension with a knife. It's when Hangman sits down and talks to Swerve. And they kind of have this like mutual respect for one another of like, listen, I hate you and I will always hate you. But we need to move on as human beings for the good of this company. I need to bring the title home and get it out of the hands of the Death Riders. I need you to be cool with that. I've admitted the wrongs that I've done. You've admitted the wrongs that you've done. We need to move on. And then the end of that promo is Hangman taking a chain off of himself and leaving it in front of Swerve. Because he's not carrying it anymore. He doesn't need to have that chain around him anymore, because that weight of what Swerve did, of him coming into his home where his children lives, he finally was able to let it go and not carry it around anymore. That is a once, I got goosebumps now just like repeating it. That's a once in a generation promo. That's a once in a generation moment. And they were able to accomplish that so fully and so well that this deserves all the awards. This will probably be my promo of the decade. It's Swerve and Hangman putting down the chain. Tag Team of the Year. This is a tough one because I really feel like because WWE is not really showcasing tag teams anymore, that I can't really give it to anyone in the WWE. Like, tag team wrestling is so not spotlit that it's hard to give any of those teams the award for best of the year. I mean, I guess I could give it to, like, Punk and AJ, but they only had one match. It was on a pay-per-view, but that doesn't make them the best of the year. It's just not something that they're prioritizing over the WWE, so it's hard for me to give them an award. And if you look back at AEW last year, I gave it to Sting and Darby Allin. Because they had a fantastic run with the titles. They were undefeated. Sting's last match was fantastic. And I didn't want to give this award to the Young Bucks. Because actually, I gave the Young Bucks the least anticipated return award in my worst list. Because I wasn't excited to see them come back. I was afraid that they were going to come back and ruin something. And that's what they did. They showed up at Dynasty and they stopped Swerve from winning the title. And I was mad and I was there. So I booed. That being said, I'm giving this award to the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks absolutely killed it this year. I was really afraid that they were going to come back and just do the same old, same old. It's going to be like, oh, the Young Bucks are here. We've turned face again. We're superheroes. We're going to fight the Death Riders. That's what I was afraid of. Instead, they did the wonderful fall of the EVPs. They brought the EVPs back. They were annoying, just like I was afraid, but in a good storytelling way. And then we saw them get their just desserts as they went broke in front of our eyes. We needed to see them suffer because the Young Bucks has caused a lot of pain for AEW and its fan base. And now that they have fallen and they've gotten their punishment, now we're okay liking them again. And now they're back with Kenny and they're coming out to the Be the Elite music. It's great to see the Young Bucks having the ebbs and flows that make sense. And when wrestlers are EVPs, you know, they have some sort of creative control. It's always worrisome that they're going to just book themselves in a way that is easiest or most appealing to them. And instead, to do this kind of embarrassing run has been so entertaining. I love the vignettes at the casino. I like that Being the Elite is back on YouTube. Young Bucks really showed that they know what they're doing in the world of wrestling. Last year, I was so against them because they were heels, and I was getting worked because I didn't like them because they were dastardly. The Young Bucks are truly pros at this business. They're definitely not killing the business. They're killing it. That was clever. I give this award to the Young Bucks. Most underrated. I really had a hard time with this one this year. Because originally I wanted to give this to Harley Cameron. But I think we all know Harley Cameron's great. And she recently won the tag titles with Willow. So I can't say that she's underrated. I was going to give it to Austin Theory. But then Austin Theory showed up and was part of the Vision. So he's basically part of the main event scene. So I can't really say that he's underrated at this time. I was going to give it to Roddy Strong, but Roddy recently popped up in the Continental Classic. I could still give it to him. He's not really doing well in the Continental Classic, but Roddy Strong's great, and I'm glad that he's getting this chance to really get showcased here. In the end, though, I tried to think of someone who I know can have really good matches, but haven't. Like, we haven't seen the full range of this individual. And there is a person who gets amazing reactions. Yet I feel like they've been so sidelined that we have to say that he's underrated. And that's Wheeler Yuta. Anytime Wheeler Yuta shows up to help out the Death Riders, the crowd explodes in often F-U Yuta chants. He has so much heat right now. And yet, I can't think of the last time he had, like, a singles match. Like, I'm glad that we have Claudio and Mox and Pac in the Continental Classic, but, man, I'd love to see Yuta in there. I also don't really understand why we brought in Daniel Garcia into the Death Riders, and he got to cut in line to get a shot at the TNT title when Wheeler Yuta has been there the whole time. Wheeler Yuta needs to stop being the person in the Death Riders you're allowed to make look weak because we're protecting everyone else. Wheeler Yuta needs to break out and really show what he can do in the ring. Wheeler Yuta is the most underrated wrestler of 2025. Most underutilized. So the big difference here is underrated is no one is really giving the flowers to that person. Underutilized is someone that we know is great, but for some reason doesn't get used in that way. Like LA Knight usually falls under this category. LA Knight jumps around from being like top tier, should be battling for the title, to the like WWE Ricochet spot, where they're one of the top baby faces, but they're not doing anything worthwhile. So, like, that's underutilized. And there's a lot of people that fall into that category. My number one thought was Athena. Athena held the women's championship for ROH this entire year. Why isn't she being showcased more? Like, I know she's popping in on Dynamite every now and again and doing some stuff for AEW, but she's the champion of ROH forever. Like, when is she finally going to get those main event spotlights on the main show? The Beast Mortos is another one that I think kind of falls in that area. I think we all think the Beast Mortos is pretty awesome, but we can't get him going in like a good storyline. I was really tempted to give this to most of NXT. Like, there are so many people in NXT that it is time to call up, and they're just kind of hanging around there. Like, we need to call up the Trick Williams, the Ricky Starks, the Obafemis, the Sol Rukas, the Javon Evans. Like, there's so much talent that's just kind of trapped down there. Like, the fact we don't have Jordan Grace on the main roster is so frustrating because it will change the landscape of women's wrestling in the WWE. But it just keeps not happening. But in the end, there is one thing that just really bothered me. So I'm going to say the most underutilized is the SmackDown Tag Division. Like, you have DIY. You have the Street Profits. You have the Motor City Machine Guns. And you have the Wyatt Six. And they've appeared on 0 premium live events. Like, what happened to tag team wrestling meaning something in the WWE? Like, they had an amazing TLC match on SmackDown. Like, when are we going to elevate all these stars to the point that they should be on a premium live event? When is that going to happen? The Wyatts had a Halloween Horror Nights house at Universal Studios, and somehow we couldn't get them onto a premium live event? It is so frustrating to see all that great talent just kind of locked down and not able to make the jump off of SmackDown. Like, I know SmackDown's going to be 3 hours moving forward, but we need to use those 3 hours to build matches that we want to see. And I want to see more DIY, more Motor City Machine Guns, more tag team action on premium live events. Most anticipated return. As we look into 2026, who are we really waiting for that moment to come back? And that has to be Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins has been elevated this year so well. Like, he remains very true to his character. He's very much an architect still, creating the vision around him, holding that title with a death grip, being that smarmy heel he's so good at being. And for him to go out with an injury when he did against, was it Cody, I believe? Such a bummer that he had to go out that way, that we had to have the vision turn on him early and just have everything fall apart. Seth was so hot when he went out. And he's going to come back and be a huge babyface. I can't wait to see Seth Rollins back. And yeah, I know that we're waiting for Ospreay to come back. And Ospreay is superhuman and going to come back sooner than we expected. But I think based on what was going on in building Seth just edges him out. And for the record, I almost gave this to HEW, because why did they cancel HEW? That's event of the year. It was really hard for me to pick an event of the year, because I feel like on the WWE side of things, it was a lot of one-match cards. It was oh my god, I can't believe this match is happening. And then 3 matches that were interesting. And then on the AEW side of things, it was so many matches that I kind of had trouble picking out the things that really impacted me as a whole. In the end, I think I kind of went with the obvious choice. I went with AEW All In. This is the end of the redemption arc for Hangman Adam Page, which was my storyline of the year, where he goes to war with Jon Moxley and they just hit each other really hard. Really enjoyed that. This is the Young Bucks versus Ospreay and Swerve. A fantastic tag team outing, because I like tag team wrestling, but apparently we don't get to see that often enough. This is also Toni Storm versus Monet. And I was so worried going into this that they were going to do a triple threat, throw Athena in there, and have it be winner take all, and Monet would run away with all the titles. But instead, we got just a very good women's championship match with Toni Storm defeating Monet. It was a fantastic time. I really enjoyed All In, and I think the reason that it really pushed over the edge is I really enjoyed All In, even though I didn't see it live. I ended up having to watch the replay because I went to a Weird Al concert. And it still had a great impact on me. That's how effective AEW's All In was. Match of the year. Whew. There were some bangers this year. I really enjoyed AJ Styles versus John Cena. That match just kind of popped out of nowhere, and doing a tribute match is super entertaining, so I really liked that one. Anarchy in the Arena is always a good time. I really love just the spectacle of that. I was totally blown away by the Royal Rumble this year, because I was certainly not expecting main event Jey Uso to win that, so for the surprise factor and the fact that it's a Royal Rumble and they're always fun, that was in my mind. In New Japan, there was Kenny Omega versus Gabe Kidd. I think that one's kind of underrated, but it was a fantastic match. There was a lot of really good women's wrestling. This was Io Sky versus Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Probably the best women's match in the history of WrestleMania. One of the best triple threat matches that I've seen, and that is saying that, knowing that Seth versus Roman versus Punk was on that card as well. I really loved that match. Then there's Toni Storm and Mariah May. And man, a beautiful Hollywood ending to that storyline. I may have pushed that over the top for getting this award had it gone on last, because man, was that a main event. And to really have that seal of approval as this is the moment, whew, that would have been great. But I kept coming back to one match. Whenever I was trying to weigh out, is this match better than this match, and trying to figure out what's really the match of the year, something kept going on in my mind, and I think this is going to be the real big moment where this is clearly my list, because I don't think a lot of people are going to pick this as match of the year. But my match of the year is Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay from Double or Nothing. It was a number 1 contenders match, and very strangely, was the main event. It's there's no titles on the line here, but this is the main? this is a weird decision. And I think I enjoy this match because of what it represents. For the entire year, basically, Moxley held the title hostage. And having it in that briefcase was basically hiding what AEW could be and should be. That, pure wrestling company. He locked it away, and every single Moxley match broke down into lots of interference and, who's coming out next, here's an insane spot, just all that stuff every time. But then to have this main event between two people who I really enjoy, fighting for the opportunity to save AEW in a match that was more pure, and a match where I really didn't know who was going to win and would be happy either way, it filled me with a lot of warmth. It filled me with a lot of warmth. I love Will Ospreay. I love Hangman Adam Page. And for Hangman to defeat Ospreay and kind of say, I'm going to be the one to stop the Death Riders, even though he was still on his darkness journey at the time, I thought was some amazing storyteller. It's an incredible match. And in a year of a lot of good matches, I want to say that this one is the best of the year. Wrestler of the year. Last year I gave this to Will Ospreay. And Will Ospreay also had an amazing year this year. But I'm not giving it to Will Ospreay. I think this was the real raising into an S-class wrestler for Seth Rollins. His big win at WrestleMania, forming the vision, and really ascending to not just the best, but a best of all time. But I'm not going to give it to Seth. We had waited so long for CM Punk to return. And I was one of those people who said that Punk's going to return and he's going to be a part-time guy. And he's not going to be the CM Punk that we all knew and loved. And he proved me wrong. CM Punk became a fighting champion. He deserved to be a world champion. He deserved to main event WrestleMania. He had a phenomenal year. And I'm not going to give it to CM Punk. Because you see, over in AEW, Jon Moxley held that title for so long. And a lot of people had problems with the Death Rider story. But building that tension is so important. Building that no one can take this from me mindset. And he did it excellently. The through line of the whole story is no one can take this from me. I'm doing this to make this company better because these people need to toughen up if they want to take this from me. Is a great villain monologue. And in this year, he won match after match after match and really showed what it was to be a heel champion in AEW. But I'm not going to give it to him. Because he then lost to Hangman Adam Page. Hangman Adam Page really showed that he was the protagonist of AEW. And through his journey of burning down Swerve's house, being consumed by the darkness, and then coming out in the light, that moment when they play the right entrance music, not that heel entrance, but his original entrance music, and he comes out to go to war with Jon Moxley and comes out victorious, holding that title. It's an amazing bit of wrestling business. But there is only one person that entertained me from the start of 2025 till the end of 2025. Everything that this person did was absolute gold. Whether it was in the ring, on the microphone, or just a vignette that I watched on my phone that was posted to Twitter. There is no one who did it better in 2025 than Toni Storm. Toni Storm is the timeless Wrestler of the Year. Promotion of the Year. Oh. You know, I added this award last year, and it's weird. If I look at my notes for what happened this year and all the things that I gave awards out to, do I think a lot of good wrestling matches happened? Yes. Do I think a lot of good storylines and promos happened? Yes. Do I think that there's been a lot of really standout wrestlers this year? Yes. But when you look at the promotions as a whole, there's a lot of bad. Like, I know we're not talking about the worst of the year yet, but every company had a lot of issues this year. There's been a lot of darkness amongst these bright spots. There was part of me that really wanted to cop out of this award and give it to like Power Pro Lucha because I love them. They're a brand new company in Philadelphia. There was part of me that actually wanted to give it to AAA. I think AAA had an amazing year. They've made a superstar out of Mr. Iguana. I know they got bought by the WWE, but, you know, inserting Dom as the champion and all the stuff going on with Grande Americano has been really fun. Like, AAA is more in the conversation than it's ever been. But when you talk about the best promotion, there's only two promotions that are doing really, really well. And that's the WWE and AEW. And I feel like last year I gave it to the WWE because I am an AEW boy. I've said that before. I'm not trying to hide that. I'm honest. I enjoy AEW a bit more, which is represented by this hand for some reason. But WWE just had a better year. But I really feel like AEW made some corrections. It really worked its way back up to fix the things it did wrong, to explore new paths, and get to about there. And then at some point, WWE fell off a cliff. Like, I am so tired of people complimenting WWE because their events are short. Yeah, those really expensive events are now much shorter. And they're not even that much shorter. They're just full of ads. There's just less matches on them now. Like, I understand if people want to watch it not live and fast forward through stuff, but is that the benefit you want out of your wrestling show, or do you want more for your dollar? I have to give it to AEW this year. I think AEW has been more consistent, and while WWE is making way more money, that doesn't mean that they're the best promotion. You know, there's tons of restaurants that make a lot of money that don't make the best food. And right now, WWE is far too concerned with the bottom line that they're not making good art anymore. And I think AEW is just succeeding more. So I have to give it to AEW. But that's just my opinion. This is my list. If you have a different opinion of who should have been the wrestler of the year, the match of the year, the tag team of the year, the most underutilized, leave it in the comments down below. And if you're curious what I said about previous years, those videos should be popping up on screen right now-ish. And be sure you subscribe right here to Plus 2 Wrestling because next week, it's the other side of the coin. It is the worst of 2025. You don't want to miss that. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.